I have Andrew with us. He's going to help teach you today how to double your fees. And we're going to get into exactly how to do that in a way that is aligned with your values, which is so incredibly important. Um, we're going to talk about it from not only a psychological perspective, where you're aligning your beliefs with those higher rates, but we want to get into a little bit of the tactical and how to, and how you actually justify it, so that as you're putting yourself out there as that premium provider of your thing, you feel congruent within yourself. We're going to talk about all that today, aren't we, Andrew?
Yes, we are. And I am so excited to dive in with you today.
All right. So as we kick things off, I want to set the stage just a little bit. So let's talk about why you are the expert at helping entrepreneurs do this. Loaded question, right?
Yeah, right.
This is
Right.
putting into practice exactly what we're going to be teaching today.
100%. Right. So you look at the idea of being able to double your fees, of being able to charge more for what you do and be able to serve people in a much higher level. That's really the goal. And what we specialize in, I work at a company called Story Builders, is we help people get better at their story and get better at conveying value to their ideal audience. And sometimes the audience is a literal audience. Maybe they're a speaker. Sometimes that audience might be their ideal clients or customers. And sometimes that audience might be nonprofit people that are going to be investing or going to be supporting your business. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Everyone has people that they need to get better at conveying their message to. And that's what we specialize in. And we help do that in two core ways. One is we help you develop your stories, and two is we help you develop your frameworks, because both of those things need to work together if you're going to find more success in the business world. And what we help with is once we've leveled up those stories, once we've leveled up those frameworks, we help you build something bigger. We help you create a book, or we'll help you create a course or the next keynote for that you're going to use. And the end goal of that is we help you create something that's this cornerstone piece of content that you can sell a lot of different ways. You can sell your book, obviously, as the book itself. But now that you have a book, great. Now you can create a keynote out of it. Great. You can create a workshop series out of it. You can build all kinds of things once you have this centralized bit of knowledge. And that's what we specialize in, is helping people start to create that pool that they can pull from to continually generate more revenue and serve people at a much higher level.
I love it. And I can speak to this from personal experience. A big part of it is creating those sellable assets, but another big piece of it is building the credibility. Now, we sort of intuitively know this, and anybody who has gone through any like marketing training or business development, training, they understand that the expert gets paid more. The specialist always gets paid more. And there are a lot of people who are putting themselves out there as experts who are not experts. um, and to whatever degree their business is actually built out in a sophisticated manner and their beliefs align with it, they can get away with it, and they could probably charge some of those premium prices. But on the other end of the spectrum, there's a lot of people who are experts. They've been doing their thing for, maybe at least 5 years, sometimes way longer. They're really, really talented. They're really good at what they do. And they're wrestling with this whole inner conflict. Am I actually good enough? Or what positions me as the expert? I don't have a book. I don't have any, big fancy degrees. I haven't worked with any A-level clients that I can, post all over my website and social media profiles. So let's talk a little bit about how people can start to build that level of credibility. And let's also talk a little bit about IP, intellectual property, and how people can utilize that for creating that expertise and that credibility.
Yeah, and I think there's really two things we're going to be getting into today. And one is definitely your domain a little stronger, and one is my domain a little stronger. And your side of the domain where we're going to be spending some time today is a lot of that those internal challenges that come up when we say something like, "Hey, let's teach you how to double your fees." Right? Likely people are like at first they're like, "Woohoo, yeah, sounds awesome." But then there's probably a couple other things that start happening as you start thinking about that. Is yeah, that'd be great to make more money, but then also like okay, well, what happens when I raise my fees? Am I going to lose my customers? Is anyone even going to buy? Am I even worth that much? Am I da 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 da, right? So there's that side of it. Then there's also the, okay, how do you actually justify charging more? How do you actually convince people that you have that value? Because it's great if you just have a high price point, but if nobody's buying, it doesn't really matter anyway. So you got to have both of those things. You got to have that internal side figured out so that you are confident, or maybe not even confident, you're at least capable of going to market with that doubling of rates, right? Then there's the other side, which is you have to convince somebody that you are worth that higher fee, that you're worth that premium. And so what we'll get into a little bit is the idea of intellectual property and how to create things in such a way that people see more value in it, that they want to pay more for it. And it's really easy to see all around you. And you see other people do this all the time. And you, as a listener, you don't think anything of this. It's just normal because it's for other people. It's what other people do, right? Why does John Maxwell have these 5 core things? Or why does he have the 23 laws of growth? Or what? Well, it's John Maxwell. Of course, he's got these special rules and these special laws and these special things that he's made up. He's this legend. Okay. But at some point, John Maxwell was just John Maxwell, and nobody had any idea who he was. Over time, he's created a business empire because he's committed to building an intellectual property ecosystem. So if you look at what he's done, he'll come out with a book, and that book may sell pretty well because he's really well known. He's got a big email list. He's got tons of people that love him. And so people go and consume his stuff. So his book will make some money. But then what he does is he creates other things other than just the book. He'll create some sort of workshop. He'll create some sort of certification. He'll create some other way to monetize the knowledge and the collection of ideas in that book. And then you do that by one book every single year. And all of a sudden now John Maxwell is this absolutely super well-known legend in business. And so looking at him earlier in the timeline, though, if we go back to one of his earlier books or a book, a little bit further in, that's where some of you are today, is you're in that spot where, man, I don't quite have that centralized thing yet. And so what we're going to talk about today is how to start creating frameworks, how to start creating and telling stories in such a way that you become that expert that people want to come to.
So when you drop a name like one of your clients, John Maxwell, some people maybe have just heard his name, other people know of him, and so they have a frame of reference for the empire that he has created. Those are the people who are going to be most likely to say, that sounds like way too much work. I don't possibly have that skill set to create that many books and that many courses and that many this and that and whatever. And they start to feel overwhelmed. But we need to chunk that down. We need to, break that down. And you so brilliantly said it, right? A lot of people listening or watching, right? They are at that earlier stage. Maybe they do have a book out. Maybe they don't, but they've got a book inside of them, or they have a course inside of them. And their overwhelm is conveying that, like putting it into like an actual digital format that people can consume. And that's where they are overwhelmed. That's where they're getting in their own way, is they've never done it before. And maybe they have thrown up some content and it didn't perform all that well because they didn't have the tactical skills, right? They didn't know how to create a good hook. They didn't know how to deliver it in a compelling way. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a bit about how it does not have to be an overwhelming thing. It can actually be a very structured process. Granted, yes, there's still going to be some work, but it's always easier to do the work because we're the expert, right? We know the stuff. We just need somebody to extract it out of us in a way that we can package it all up so that it is a consumable deliverable that people will actually want.
100%. You need it to be consumable and you need it to make things simpler. If you're going to share about something as an expert, you need to be able to take something complex because you have this expert, unique, special knowledge, and you need to be able to break it down so simply that a young person could understand it, right? Explain it like I'm five is a concept you may have heard before, where you want to make things simple enough that any one of your ideal clients can grasp it relatively quickly. And there's analogies and there's stories and there's other things you can do to help people understand things better. But at the end of the day, each person, everyone watching this, if you are in business and you are qualified as an expert in some way, whether you are a coach, whether you are a consultant, whether you are a speaker, whether you are a CEO, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. Likely you have a depth of expertise in what you're doing to be able to be paid for what you do. Okay. So hopefully everyone is at least at that spot. So based on you having that level of expertise, you've probably gotten to a point where you do things a little bit differently than someone else in your profession. And it doesn't have to be massively different. It doesn't have to be some sort of huge, massive change. Just has to be different enough, or it has to be different in a way that other people aren't necessarily talking about. And when you can share and show that that difference is valuable and important, and you can prove that value and you can show that it gets other people results, when you can bring that to life for people, they are willing to invest more in you. They are willing to pay more with you. And so you want to look at, okay, what is it that I'm doing? What is my process that I can follow, that I can, in a sense, create a system out of? I can create a framework for. I can maybe create an acronym of some kind, or I can create a step-by-step process, like a Dave Ramsey and the baby steps, right? Steps 1 through 6, right? And most of those things are relatively common financial knowledge, right? Like try to pay down your debts, right? But he has one or two controversial things, one or two things that are a little different, and it polarizes people. And it's okay to polarize people because you want the wrong people to go running for the hills and you want the right people to come running at you screaming, I would like you to take my money. That is your goal. So it's okay to be a little polarizing in your frameworks because at the end of the day, it will actually help your business.
So for some of our listeners, they're like, okay, that's not an issue. I'm polarizing all day long. And for others are kind-hearted, people pleasers. And little drop here for my content. After you're done listening to this, if you're a people pleaser, type in Alicia Kramer people pleaser and watch some of the trainings that I do on overcoming that, because that is not helping you in business at all. But what you're saying here is you don't have to be over the top. It's really just you have your unique way of getting results for your clients or your customers. And we just need to let people know, at least at a high level, what that is, because then your perfect clients and customers are going to know that this is for them. And the people who would not be satisfied purchasing your course or reading your book or whatever it is, or working with you one-on-one, they're going to know it. They're going to feel it. It's going to be pretty obvious to them based on that initial information.
And what you're talking about, just that idea of scaring people away and attracting those right people and talking to our people pleasers in the audience. I am a people pleaser as well. That's something I've had to battle against and fight against. I tried to be everything to everybody and try and be kind and welcoming and committed to community. And all of those things are noble traits and they're all very, very important. But there's certain people that don't belong in my community. There's certain people that I don't really want in my orbit. Doesn't mean I wish them ill. It doesn't mean I can't still love them and be kind to them, but we're not necessarily a match. And that's very much okay. So, the world we live in now, it has never been more easy to find your specific type of people. It's actually remarkable. I remember earlier in the days of the internet trying to find a fan group or something for a band, right? Like there's like one or two fan pages out there and like that's how you found some of your people. My wife actually has one of her best friends that she met on one of those sites for the Jonas Brothers. And they're still friends to this day. And nowadays, it's never been easier to find that fan club for a band or to find that group of other business people that think that same type of way or find that ideal influencer or person of knowledge that can solve your particular problem. And that's what you want to be is you want to be the center of that particular problem. You want to plant your flag on that problem and you want to help people through that. And one of the flags that we are planting in at Story Builders is helping people create this IP ecosystem. And really that's the end goal is to create an ecosystem that keeps feeding into itself. And to echo back to an earlier idea we brought up is this, it sounds so overwhelming. It sounds so complex, but anything complex like that always starts with one thing, starts with something simple. And you just do that one simple thing and you test it, you see how it works, and you keep doing it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it. And likely you've already done a lot of this. If you are already onboarding your clients, if you are already giving them results in a particular way, you've already road tested a lot of these concepts, right? You have shown and proven that you get results by following this step-by-step process. Now, what you may not have done is you may not have spelled out that step-by-step process. What you may not have done yet is you may not have proven the value in your step-by-step process. And why everyone else does theirs this way, I do mine this way because it adds this much more value and you're going to get this much better of a result because you followed it.
So just in that piece right there, being able to demonstrate your level of expertise, your ability to help people. If somebody has not connected the dots yet, I think that's a really, really, really good way of doing it, right? Because who are you willing to spend more money with? Someone who you're absolutely confident is going to get you the result you want, or someone who maybe possibly is able to get you the result that you want. And for anyone who has gone down the maybe possibly route, that is not a fun route to go down. Um, there's a sense of security, there's a sense of confidence, there's a feeling of empowerment that we get as human beings when we have invested in something that we know, or at least have a very high level of confidence is going to actually help us get that result that we want. And that's what warrants the higher fees. It's like, would you want to go to your general physician for a broken bone, or would you rather go to someone who specializes in repairing broken bones, right? And it just, again, we intuitively know it, but it isn't always necessarily as straightforward. Like, most business owners are not sitting around saying, I need to make more money, so I should definitely demonstrate my credibility and expertise by creating a very compelling framework where I deliver value in a very strategic way to my ideal client. They're not thinking that. They're thinking more along the lines of, what do I do? Well, maybe I could create something new, or I could reach out to some old contacts, or right? And what we're doing here is definitely bit of a step up from the just throwing spaghetti at the wall approach to growing your business.
100%. This is definitely more of an advanced tactic. So for those that are kind of still stuck in a lot of those early mindset challenges where like, man, I don't believe I'm worthy, or I don't think I can charge that much, or who am I to do this? There's definitely some work you still need to do. And I'll say from my end, working with people that are still extremely hung up in those spaces, doing this type of work actually becomes extremely tedious and challenging. Often they avoid the work, they don't do those things that they need to, or they start doing it, but they don't go all in. They don't actually, launch the product, or they don't create the thing. And it can be so frustrating. Even if I believe, even if the team around us believes, if they don't have that belief, if they don't have that trust in themselves, that's where things start to kind of go belly up a little bit. And I definitely want to hear a little bit on your side, Alicia, just for those that are maybe still stuck there. You mentioned maybe some, people pleaser videos. Are there any other types of resources, or maybe one or two quick things that you could share that can kind of help people with some of that money mindset type stuff?
Yeah. So this is obviously what I specialize in. And having been in the personal development industry since 2006, I've seen a lot. And I've obviously been focused more specifically on working with entrepreneurs since about 2010, 2011. So that gives me a pretty broad spectrum in terms of where people are at and the common things that people bump up against. And that is one of the reasons that I created the Academy. And we have different levels, obviously, for our entrepreneurs who are maybe just getting started, or they're in the thick of all of the mindset mess, which is super common for newer entrepreneurs. They're contending with a lot more of the self-sabotaging behaviors, the self-limiting beliefs, um, questioning their worthiness, unresolved things, right? They really have not aligned their mindset or their self-image yet with the success that they can create. And so our basic academy level addresses all of that. It is full of resources so that people can go in there and they can utilize the mindset reprogramming resources specific to their challenges. There's stuff in there for self-worth and raising your rates, feeling more confident. There's stuff in there for overcoming imposter syndrome and self-sabotaging tendencies. And we do offer a free month of the Academy. So for anyone who is at that stage, take advantage of those resources. It's so valuable, and that can help you clean up some of that initial resistance to getting some real traction. Because like what you said, and I see this all the time, this is just the way that the mind works. You can have very good intentions. You can take the right actions, but with the wrong mindset, you will self-sabotage, you will stagnate, you will create justifiable excuses to retreat. And even if you're able to push through all of that, if you're really a go-getter at your core, full of limiting beliefs, you can push through that. But then you're always wrestling with those other issues, like feeling like a fraud, or fear of losing it all, feeling like it's just a one-hit wonder and you don't actually have what it takes to create sustainable success for yourself. And that's why doing that inner work is so important. We need it at every level, obviously. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are very high level, multimillionaire, built successful businesses. We're still contending with mindset stuff. It's an ongoing, ever evolving process. So that being said, for someone who's listening, who's thinking, I really would love to create this type of IP ecosystem for myself. I really do have this big dream of creating more success and making a bigger difference in this world by doing the work that's meaningful and fulfilling to me. Oh no, I've got a whole bunch of those limiting beliefs that Andrew and Alicia just talked about. This is just just to reassure you, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're human. Welcome to the club. We've all got it to varying degrees, including people who become very successful by everybody else's standards. They're still dealing with some of that inner conflict. It's completely natural. It's completely normal. Just accept it, do your inner work, and you'll get yourself ever progressively to those next levels.
Exactly. And yeah, you don't have to be some enlightened Buddha in order to be able to take some of these next IP ecosystem steps. And likely what you may need to do is actually take some of these steps and then reveal some of the limiting beliefs that you have, start working on those limiting beliefs, and then start taking more of the steps to keep building stuff. It's very much an iterative process. There is no one solution. It's just a continuance on a timeline of solving the next thing. And so, let's pretend though. Let's pretend someone's in a mindset and they're in a healthy enough spot. They're like, cool, I feel like I can take some of these steps. I feel like I can go start building something. I'll share a little example of a guy that his name's Scott Grates. He's a guy I work with. And he would be the first one to tell you he is a normal dude. Perfectly, normal guy, has kids, wife, and he started an insurance business. And not really started it, he kind of took a like a franchise approach, right? So he works for a larger insurance organization and basically does something very normal, very simple, very straightforward, something that a lot of people need, but also has a lot of competition. And it's very difficult for people in the insurance industry to stand out because there's so many other people or so many other companies or so many other plans. And so what Scott's been able to do is he's been able to stand out in his community. And so the first thing he did well was create a strong referral network locally. So he became a well-known local business person. He became the guy in his area for insurance. And you see people like this all the time. Often they own a car dealership, or they own the car washes, or they own the restaurant downtown. They start to become these people of importance in your local community. And a lot of times that's where that stops. They kind of cap out. They become that kind of local celebrity. They become well known. They become decently successful, and they ride off in the sunset, live happily ever after. For some people though, they're like, man, I kind of want a little more. I want to do something else. I want to create for other people. I want to create an information or knowledge based business. And so for Scott, that's kind of his transition. Is he's like, cool, I've done well in the insurance business. I've done well serving my local community. Let's take this national. Let's take this international. And what I'm selling now isn't going to be insurance. What I'm going to be selling now is the insights in how to build your business. And so for Scott, he came to us to work with us to help him solidify his first book, which was Referrals Done Right. And it was going through over his system of how to, in your local community, build a strong referral network and referral system and become one of those well-known people that everyone just like, oh man, for such and such thing, you got to go see, your name. So that's what he did for his first book. Now, what he's doing for his next book and his next project is he's creating a course and a book that serve a niche within that. So, in Referrals Done Right, one of the things that he talks about is you need to become known in your local school system. And part of that is just being present there, showing up there. And there's a couple things that happen. Is one, you get networked with teachers. And for those that don't know, teachers know everybody, right? If you're ever looking for the town gossip, find someone that works in the school. They will tell you, right? They're the ones that know people. They are connected. They know so much about what's going on. They've got their pulse on it. And so if you can befriend those people, if you can make connections with those people, they can be really powerful referral partners and allies in your community. Now, what he's trying to do is create a course and a book that serves the student population. And so now Scott is selling to a business owner that lives in another local community, and they can buy this course and this book, and they can deliver that to the school as a value add. So it's, hey, it's a career after classroom. This is going to be helpful for your students. This is going to add value to them. And now me, the entrepreneur in this local area, following Scott's system and Scott's plan, I now get to create a better referral network and get more connected in my community, which will help me grow my local business. So that's Scott. That's Scott's model. Now, he started off just an insurance guy, and he would have told you a decent one. He's a good one. He's a good guy. He's genuine. And that's one thing that sets him apart, actually, is how genuine he is and how strong he is at his follow through. So he calls it not special, but in business today, if you have strong follow through and you're a good genuine person, unfortunately that is special, right? That is now a unique thing. And so Scott has leveraged that and done really well in business. But now he's created this ecosystem. He just hit USA Today bestseller on his first book, and so we're kind of rolling these projects out as a way of building Scott's ecosystem. And this will not be the last thing that we make with him. He's going to continue to grow and to build his business based on serving this audience. So hopefully that triggered some ideas in some of the people listening. Likely you're trying to serve people in a particular way. And many of you are probably in some sort of knowledge or information or wisdom based business where you're trying to help people with a particular problem. And so if you can convey that message in a way that's unique, Scott had a 5-point system, and one of those points was the getting into the school system. So he created that 5-point system. We worked with him to kind of hone it and refine it. So if you can create something like that to show that value to your market, to your marketplace, how you've implemented it, and or how your clients have implemented that, you've now got some case studies, you've now got some proof of concept, and you can kind of show what can happen for the before and after, like I'm doing right now with Scott. You can then convince people that, holy smokes, this is the next step. This is what I need to do. I need to do this in my business. So I'm going to pause here for a second because likely there's a lot of things, neurons are hopefully firing for a lot of people in the audience. And really the next question I want people to be really thinking on is, do you believe that an IP ecosystem is the next best step for your business? And likely there's some doubts, likely there's some stuff popping up in your mind. And I'm going to turn it over to Alicia because she might have a few of those that she knows that her ideal people sometimes struggle with, and we can probably talk about some of that.
One of the things that I will say is the mind and our fears and our doubts and our insecurities and our limiting beliefs can cloud our inner guidance. But there actually is a distinct awareness where you can, if you're honest with yourself and you ask yourself some questions, if I didn't have the fear, if I didn't have the doubt, if I trusted myself, is this something I would want to do? And if the answer is yes, then it's just the fears, the doubts, the insecurities. You can work through all that. You can resolve that stuff. Trust your inner guidance. Now, if you were of the mindset that, oh, this is something I should do, this is one of those other things that I need to do. Oh no, if I don't do this, then I'm missing out on something, right? How many people talk about FOMO, fear of missing out? Well, sometimes your inner guidance is saying, that's not actually the right thing for me, but it's your fear that's clouding your inner guidance. So my suggestion to people is just simply take the next step if it feels like this is something that I would love to do. If I didn't have the fear, if I didn't have the self-doubt, if I didn't have the insecurities, if I can clean all that stuff up, my gut instinct is I would love to do this. Trust that. Take the next step. And the next step, Andrew, is actually you're not even asking anybody necessarily to make an investment in this next step. So let's give them the next step. So if they've got the yes, if their inner guidance is saying, I want to learn more, I feel like this could be exactly what I want and what I need in my business at this time, what is the next step?
Great question. So really the next step is to start investing in yourself, start investing in your framework, start investing in creating those things that are going to add more value and prove things to your customers. That way you can double your rates, which is going to obviously make a ripple effect of change within your life. So first step in investing in that is find an expert. Okay. I'm raising my hand as an expert. We help people with this. So we do free webinars where we just kind of walk people through how to create a framework like this. How do you create a framework that actually adds value in your customers' eyes? And we help people do that for their businesses. So this is a free thing, free webinar. Come on out. It's awesome. So, and you get me, right? I've got tons of energy, and maybe it might be someone else on our team, but usually it's going to be me. And what we try to do is just walk through, what is it that you specialize in? What is your unique special sauce? Because every business has one, every person has one, because all of us are unique, unless you're a twin. But even then, you and your twin are different. Okay. So each person has that unique value that you personally are going to add. And so we take that unique value, we showcase that with this new framework. Not even a new framework, it's probably something you've already been doing. It's probably something that you downplay. It's probably something that's not even important in your mind. It's just the way that you do things. For me, I used to work in a fitness business. And one of the things that we did was we had something called Basics Day. And we ran people just through some of these basic exercises. And the saddest thing was, most people did very poorly on these extremely basic exercises. Just looking at shoulder mobility, looking at the way that their hips move, right? Being able to kind of showcase a few of these simple movements that most people are like, oh, I could do a squat, or oh, I could do that thing. And then being able to highlight for them, well, actually, here are the challenges that we're seeing here, right? And then walking through that process for us. It's just the way we did business, just the way that we help people. Okay. But our unique way of stringing those things together, that was a system. That was a special process. And what we should have done, and I'm probably going to talk to my brother after this video, is we should have named it, right? It should have a special system. It should have a special framework, and it should have a special name, because that is more valuable. That means that you are the premium person that knows and that understands. So yeah, if you're in that spot where like you got that inner knowing, like, okay, I've got some baggage, but like I think I can do this, come on out. Like, we'd love to help, love to walk you through how to actually create a framework within your business that's going to add that value so you can double your rates.
Awesome. This has been value packed. We have the link with this video, so everybody can just conveniently click over and take that next step, go through that building out their framework process with you. And of course, if they want to go to the next step, you can always give them guidance on that further down the road. Andrew, this has been fantastic. I want to thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today. I'm sure even for people who have maybe they're like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet. I'm sure we've at least planted some really valuable seeds. And when the time is right, they can implement this in their business as well.
100%. So reminder, gang, I'm Andrew, Story Builders. You can find us at mystorybuilders.com. Obviously, go into the spot down below and click on that link. Would love to see you at one of our next webinars. And again, if you can start investing in your business, right? Everyone talks about working in your business versus on your business. This is the working on your business part. This is the part that a lot of people skip over. So if you can start investing here, you will be able to reap those dividends. You'll be able to increase your rates and show more value and be more confident in charging that increased amount.
All right, perfect way to end. Thanks again, Andrew, and thanks to everybody who has joined us today. We'll see you in another video.